where does Greg Norman fit into this? Because it seems like he has just completely disappeared, and it seems like he wasn't part of this at all.
Oh,
Where do you think Greg Norman fits into this? Because it seems like he's kind of disappeared.
Greg Norman, the enigma. I mean, this guy, he thought his bed was made when he took all that money from the Saudis and started this league. And I mean, he came through. He brought over a lot of big players. I mean, when you look at it, that was quite damaging to the PGA Tour to lose guys like Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, Cam Smith. I mean, we're talking about some of the best golfers in the world. A lot of the other names are has-beens or, guys that had big names and big followings like a Phil Mickelson, but Phil hasn't been competitive on Live Golf. I mean, it's just not something when you're over the age of 50 that you're really going to be doing. So, with that said, Greg Norman does not fit because he mouthed off big time in the beginning of all of this. I mean, he destroyed Jay Monahan. He destroyed the PGA Tour and everything he said. And that came from some of the leaked documents that one of the initial things of the framework agreement was that Greg Norman was not going to be a part of this. And that was the PGA Tour's ask from the PGA Tour side. So, Greg, hate to say it, man, and you've had some tough losses in your career. The Masters being multiple tough losses. This is going to be another one that you were the pawn in all of this by Yasir. And with Saudi Arabia, I mean, you are the pawn that ended up, yeah, you're collateral damage. You are not going to survive this. And the only thing that I can think of is Greg Norman remains in 2024 and Yasir has to be the middleman between him and the PGA Tour. And if Greg stays, by the way, in 2024, expect Live Golf will not be around in 2025.
Hmm. Wow. And because it was so interesting because when PGA or when the Live Tour started, the Live Series started, I thought Greg Norman was in charge of the whole thing, but he ended up just being the puppet the Live Tour
He was the
Series. Yeah.
mouthpiece. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy how things can happen though, and we'll see what happens there. But that is a very interesting insight because if you mentioned if Norman stays in 2024, then by 2025 the Live won't be a thing or won't exist. So
The only reason he would survive in 2024 is because they're like, we don't want to have to make any changes or anything to Live Golf. It's operating, let it be, let it fail. Like, because here's the thing, the numbers aren't there. They don't have the sponsorships. And that's one of the things I'm really surprised about is the fact that, I thought with this announcement of the framework agreement, that some big sponsors were going to start to be like, oh, let's jump in on Live Golf now. But I don't think they've had the numbers because you look at the YouTube numbers and it's been reported like their tournaments do not get that much TV viewership. And I watch them every single time. So don't think that I'm a hater of Live Golf by any means. I actually love it. My team's the Range Goats, by the way. Great name, great logo. Love the hot pink with the goat logo to it. So and I love the gold chain and everything that they do. But yeah, it's not looking good for Live Golf because the numbers aren't there and the sponsors aren't there. I was actually watching the TV broadcast and some of their advertisers are like local car detailers. And it's like, yeah, that's not going to move the needle when it comes to big sponsorships. And their entire model was what the PGA Tour is doing with this TGL, with getting real team ownerships and people buying these franchises. And that's not happening on the Live Golf side. So I just think that if Greg's going to survive for another year, it's basically the PGA Tour just saying, or Jay Monahan really, because he's going to be effectively the main guy, the chairman of the board of this new entity that gets to decide everything. And I think he's just going to go, you know what, leave their structure in place for 1 year. They're going to be gone anyways.